Here's a question nobody in your company ever wants you to ask. What is the budget for the person they are about to hire to replace you? Because that number, the number sitting in your HR department's recruitment file right now, is almost certainly higher than anything they have ever offered you. And once you understand why that gap exists and what it is quietly costing you every single year you ignore it, you'll never look at your career the same way again. I want to tell you about a concept I call the loyalty tax. It is not something your employer will ever tell you about. It is not something most career coaches talk about. But it is real, it is measurable, and for most people who spend their entire career at one or two companies, it adds up to over $1 million in lost lifetime earnings. Workers who stay at their jobs consistently earn 50% less over their lifetime than those who switch companies strategically every 2 to 3 years. 50%. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between financial independence and financial survival. And before we go any further, I need to tell you about a $20,000 haircut. Not a luxury treatment, a regular haircut. 20 minutes in a barber's chair that cost one man $20,000 because he was not paying attention to something he owned. I will tell you that full story before this video is over, and I think it will reframe how you think about your career as an asset. But first, let's talk about the system that is charging you a tax you never agreed to pay. Most employees think about salary in terms of what they earn today and what percentage increase they might get at their next review. That is an understandable way to think about it, but it is also the framing that keeps people underpaid for decades. The more useful question is not what your company is willing to give you. It is what the market is actually willing to pay for what you know. Inside almost every mid-size and large company, there are two entirely separate budget lines that most employees never see. The first is a retention budget, the pool of money available to give existing employees raises and bonuses. The second is a recruitment budget, the money set aside to attract and hire new talent from outside. These two budgets are not equal. The recruitment budget is almost always larger because companies know they have to compete in the open market to bring in someone new. Your retention raise, by contrast, is negotiated from a position of assumed loyalty. Your employer knows you are probably not leaving tomorrow. That asymmetry is a loyalty tax. This is what I call information arbitrage. Arbitrage means profiting from a price difference between two markets. In the financial world, you buy an asset cheaply in one market and sell it at full value in another. The same dynamic exists in the labor market, but most employees never exploit it because they do not realize they are sitting on an asset that another company would pay significantly more for. The skills you have built, the processes you understand, the problems you know how to solve. These may feel ordinary to you because you use them every day. To a company that does not have them yet, they can be extraordinarily valuable. The numbers make this concrete. The average annual raise in the United States sits between 2 and 3%. On a $60,000 salary, a 3% raise is $1,800 per year before taxes. Meanwhile, the average salary increase when switching companies runs between 10 and 30%. At the low end of that range, you are looking at a $6,000 raise. At 20%, $12,000. At 30%, $18,000 from a single strategic move. That is not a marginal improvement. That is a different financial life, and it compounds every year going forward. Eric Shu, the entrepreneur and investor behind the Marketing School podcast, talks openly about how this played out in his own career. At 22, he was making $32,000 a year, not because he was not talented, not because he was not working hard, but because he was staying put, being loyal, and accepting what was offered. By 25, through a series of deliberate, targeted job changes, he was earning $150,000 per year. From $32,000 to $150,000 in 3 years. And the part of his story that I think gets misread is that he was not just chasing a bigger number. He was chasing harder problems, bigger stages, and more sophisticated environments. He was stacking skills and salary at the same time. The income was the byproduct of the strategy, not the goal itself. The objection I hear most often at this point is the fear of looking like a job hopper, the concern that a resume showing multiple short tenures will disqualify you before you even get an interview. This fear made sense in 1995. In today's labor market, it is largely a myth. Hiring managers and recruiters have adapted to a world where talent moves. Candidates who have moved every 2 to 3 years, with a coherent growth narrative behind each move, are frequently preferred for senior roles precisely because they bring cross-industry perspective that long-tenure candidates have never had. The operative word is narrative. Each move should have a clear reason, a clear outcome, and a clear trajectory. We will come back to how to build that. But first, let's look at exactly what the math does to your salary over time. Let me walk you through two people. They star at identical jobs, identical salaries, $60,000 a year. Same age, same qualifications, same level of ambition. The only difference is what they decide to do with the opportunities available to them. Person A decides to stay. They are good at their job, they like their team, and each year they receive the standard 3% raise. Person B also does excellent work. But after 2 years, they make a strategic move to a new company and secure a 20% salary increase. 2 years after that, they move again, another 20% jump. Here is how the numbers fall out over 5 years. Person A earns $60,000 in year 1, $61,800 in year 2, $63,654 in year 3, $65,563 in year 4, and $67,530 in year 5. Person B earns $60,000 in year 1, $61,800 in year 2, identical so far, then $74,160 in year 3 after their first jump, $76,385 in year 4, and $91,662 in year 5 after their second jump. By year 5, Person B is earning nearly $25,000 more per year than Person A. Over those 5 years combined, Person A has earned approximately $318,000 in total. Person B has earned approximately $363,000. That is a $45,000 cumulative gap in just 5 years from 2 decisions. Extend that math over a 20 or 25-year career. Factor in investment returns on the additional income, and the lifetime gap moves well past 6 figures and into 7. But I want to focus on something even more important than the annual salary number, because I think it is the most underappreciated milestone in personal finance, and that is the path to $100,000 in net investable assets. The first $100,000 is the most critical financial milestone most people will ever reach, not because of what it is, but because of what it does. At $100,000 invested, your money begins generating meaningful returns on its own. Index fund compounding becomes real and visible. Your emergency fund is fully stocked. The financial anxiety that governs most people's career decisions, the pressure that keeps you at a bad job because you simply cannot afford to walk away, begins to dissolve. Warren Buffett has said his first $100,000 was harder than his first million, because once you cross that threshold, the math starts working for you instead of against you. For Person A, on a modest savings rate, reaching $100,000 in investable assets might take 8 to 10 years. For Person B, with higher income and the discipline to invest the difference, it can happen in 5 to 6 years, 3 to 4 years earlier. And those 3 to 4 years of additional compounding time at the beginning of the investment curve, when every dollar has the most potential runway, are worth more than almost any other financial decision a person can make. This is why the career choices you make in your 20s and early 30s are so disproportionately powerful. Time in the market is everything. Higher income gets you more to invest sooner. Every year, there is one question worth asking yourself honestly about the job you are currently in. Am I moving up, or should I be preparing to move out? That is it. That is the whole framework. Up or out. Moving up does not simply mean receiving a promotion. It means, are you learning something this year that makes you materially more valuable than you were 12 months ago? Are you taking on problems of greater complexity and scope? Is your compensation reflecting the growth of your skill set? Is there a genuinely clear path, not vague reassurances from a well-meaning manager, but an actual defined path to a meaningful title or income increase within the next year? If the answers to those questions are yes, stay. Pour yourself into that role. Extract every lesson and connection and skill that job has to offer. But if the answer is no, or even a hesitant, I am not sure, you should already be preparing to move out. Not panicking, not burning bridges, preparing. That means updating your resume while your accomplishments are fresh, reconnecting with people in your network, taking a few exploratory calls with recruiters, even if you have no immediate intention of moving, getting current, accurate market data on what your skills are actually worth at other companies right now. The goal is to never enter the job market cold. You want to be a warm candidate, someone with options already in motion, not someone scrambling to find an exit after deciding they need one. Now here is something that surprises many people when they first hear it, because it challenges the way we instinctively think about career progress. A lateral move in title can still be one of the most powerful financial decisions you make. The assumption that every meaningful career step must come with a new, more impressive title is one of the things that keeps talented people anchored at companies that are underpaying them. Consider this example. You are a marketing manager at a regional retail company earning $65,000 a year. You have been there 2 years. You are performing well, but the company operates in a low-margin industry, and budget constraints are real. Your manager is honest with you. There is maybe a $2,000 raise available at the next review. Now consider moving to a marketing manager role. Identical title, identical function, same skill set you already have at a mid-sized technology company. Because technology companies operate at significantly higher margins and generate more revenue per employee, that same role routinely pays $85,000 to $95,000. That is a 30 to 40% salary increase without a single new credential, without a new job title, without a promotion of any kind. Just a different industry, valuing the same capabilities more highly. This is industry arbitrage, and it is one of the most consistently underused moves available to working professionals. The value of your skills is not fixed. It is determined entirely by the context in which those skills are deployed. A software developer working for a hospital system, a sales professional at a regional insurance broker, a finance analyst at a nonprofit organization. These are all skilled, hard-working people whose industries have structural ceilings on what they will pay. Move those same people with those exact same skills into a high-margin technology company, a growth-stage startup, or a financial services firm, and their market value increases substantially, not because they change, but because the market they are selling into changed. The emotional reality of the up or out framework deserves honest acknowledgement, because the numbers are straightforward, but the execution is not. You have built real relationships at your current company. You know the system. You feel genuinely competent in that environment, and there is real psychological comfort in that competence. Leaving means re-earning trust somewhere new, climbing a learning curve, proving yourself again. That discomfort is real, and it should not be dismissed. But it is also almost exactly what growth feels like. Every time you walk into a new organization as a slightly more experienced version of yourself, you bring something that long-tenure employees rarely have, perspective shaped by multiple environments. That cross-pollination of experience is genuinely rare, and the market, the actual labor market, rewards it. Your salary is not your most valuable financial asset. Your primary skill is. Your salary is a byproduct. It is the current market price for your capabilities at your current employer, denominated in one company's budget and constrained by one company's internal pay bands. Like any market price, it can be renegotiated, but only when you change the market you are selling into. This is why thinking about every job in 2 layers simultaneously changes everything. The first layer is what the job is paying you today. The second layer is what skill the job is teaching you that you can monetize tomorrow. Both layers matter, but over a long career, the second layer is worth more. This is what I call skill stacking. It is a deliberate practice of using each position not just as a source of income, but as a structured, paid education. You show up and do excellent work. That part is non-negotiable. But you are also intentional about what you are building while you are there and how that asset travels with you to the next opportunity. Skills, unlike salary, are not left behind when you resign. The highest leverage skills to stack right now fall into a few categories. Sales is the first and most transferable. If you can sell, genuinely move people from uncertainty to committed action, you will never be without options or income. Every business that exists needs revenue, a documented track record in B2B sales, enterprise sales, or high-ticket consultative selling transfers across virtually every industry at a significant premium. Data is the second. The ability to take raw numbers and translate them into decisions through SQL analytics platforms or business intelligence tools is increasingly rare and increasingly compensated. This is a learnable skill in months, not years, and the gap between people who have it and people who do not is worth tens of thousands of dollars annually in many industries. AI implementation is a third, and the opportunity window here is open right now in a way that will not stay open. Not building AI systems, using them, prompt engineering, workflow automation, AI-integrated project management. Companies are desperate for people who can make existing teams 30% more efficient using tools that already exist. The early movers in the skill category are capturing significant value. And finally, the ability to write words that convert in emails, in advertising copy, in pitch decks, in sales pages is a skill that compounds with every salary level you reach because the leverage of clear, persuasive writing scales with complexity of the work you are doing. The people who use skill stacking most effectively are not necessarily the most naturally talented people in any given room. They are the most intentional. They walk into every new role with a question already formed. What can I learn here that I could not have learned at my last company? They volunteer for the projects that nobody else wants, not out of martyrdom, but because those projects carry access to senior decision makers, access to new operational processes, access to skills a company will train them on for free. And then, when the time comes, they leave. Not bitterly, not reactively, but deliberately. They carry everything they built to the next place, where it is worth more. Here is where I want to introduce the 20% rule, because this is the point where most people undo the gains they have worked hard to create. When you make a strategic jump and your income increases, let's say by $15,000, the instinct is to immediately scale your lifestyle to match. Better apartment, newer car, more dining out, more subscription. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is a silent mechanism that prevents higher earners from building lasting wealth. The rule is simple. Save at least half of every raise before you ever get used to spending it. Half of that $15,000 increase goes directly into investments, index funds, retirement accounts, or whatever the right vehicle is for your situation before it touches your lifestyle. The other half is yours to enjoy fully and without guilt. You earned it. Upgrade something that genuinely matters to you, but that first half is your machine. It is a compounding engine that, over time, makes you free. Once you start building it, the only rational decision is to protect it from the natural gravitational pull of lifestyle creep. A few years ago, the personal finance creator Humphrey Young told a story that I have not stopped thinking about since I heard it. He was in a period of paying close attention to a cryptocurrency position he held. He had been watching the price movement carefully, had a specific target in mind for when he would take his profits and withdraw. He knew what the number was. He had the plan. And then life happened, the way it always does. He had an appointment. Nothing dramatic, nothing important. He sat down in a barber's chair. 20 minutes later, he walked out, haircut looked fine, and he checked his phone. The price had hit his target and blown through it while he was sitting in that chair. He had missed the window entirely. That missed window cost him approximately $20,000. He was clear about what the lesson was not. It was not never get a haircut. It was not watch your phone every second of every day. The lesson was this: know what your assets are, understand what they need from you, and pay attention. Your assets, financial or professional, do not pause and wait for you to get back to them. The window opens and closes on its own schedule. That applies to your career more directly than almost anything else in your financial life. Your earning capacity is an asset. Your skill set is an asset. Your professional reputation, your network, the track record you are building, these are assets. And most people are effectively sitting in the barber's chair, not because they are careless or lazy, but because they are comfortable in a role they know well, comfortable with colleagues they trust, comfortable accepting the quiet, steady erosion of their market value because discomfort is, well, uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the recruitment budget at the company down the street is growing. The market rate for their skills is moving. The window is open. Here is where everything in this video is pointing. The reason to care about salary increases, strategic job moves, skill development, and the loyalty tax is not ultimately about becoming wealthy. It is about becoming free. When your income grows deliberately and consistently through well-timed moves, compounding skills, and disciplined saving, every other financial goal becomes proportionally easier. Putting 15% of your income into index funds is easy when your income is substantial and growing. Building a 6-month emergency fund is achievable when you are not perpetually stretched. Turning down a bad opportunity, a toxic company, an exploitative offer, a role that compromises your values, is straightforward when you have options and reserves. Choosing to stay somewhere because you genuinely want to be there, rather than because you cannot afford to leave, is what financial independence actually feels like in practice. That is the real return on strategic job switching, not the salary. The options, the ability to make decisions from strength rather than necessity, the ability to work on things that matter with people you respect at a pace that does not destroy you because you've built a financial foundation that makes that choice available to you. So here is what this comes down to. If you have been at your current job for more than 2 years, run the numbers honestly. Look up what comparable roles are paying in the current market. Get a real database sense of what your skills are worth to companies that do not already have you. Ask yourself whether you're moving up genuinely, measurably on a real timeline, or whether you have simply become comfortable. You do not have to make any sudden moves. You do not have to resign anything or burn any bridges. But you should know what your assets are worth, and you should be paying attention. Because the cost of not knowing, the cost of staying in the barber's chair while the window moves, turns out to be a lot more than $20,000